Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs, and today we'll be looking at my custom Mezco, I'm calling him my Cyber Samurai. This is an original design, sort of like my Cyberpunk Ninja, and I personally am very proud of it. I'm not going to say I think I did an incredible job, that's a little bit prideful, but I kind of think I did. And so this is going to be my review of him and really just breaking down the design of the figure. Obviously, there's a lot of really cool technical stuff done in here, but I feel like character design and coming up with your own vision for a character, something that hasn't been done before, is really cool. And so I'm going to explain sort of my thought process as we go through him. So first off, the customer knew that he was going to send me the Mezco cable figure, so I was figuring out a design off of that, and I knew we wanted to stay in line with the other custom I did, which was my Cyber Ninja. I think I called him Red Ghost on Instagram. So, sticking with the same futuristic pseudo Japanese theme, this is what we came up with. I'll be posting actually my original sketch, so you can see how my original sketches transformed into this figure and what changed and whatnot. So I'll actually be putting that on Instagram, so you guys should definitely check that out. But for now, let's look at the figure. And so I'll pop his head off. And as always, we will take a look at accessories first. Where to start? There's a lot of accessories. I will start with the weapons, hands, and then go to heads and his cloak and the other stuff over on this side. So we'll go left to right with these. So starting off, if you guys follow my Instagram already, you've probably seen this gun or some unpainted version of it. But this is his shoulder cannon. This plugs into his back, and I'll show that off in a little bit. But this was a really, really big endeavor. This is a gun from a Halo figure, and I'm just trying to figure out where to start with this. This was crazy. So in my original sketch, I knew I wanted to put a cannon on his back. My whole idea was just like a heavy warrior, whether he's a big samurai who's really, really strong, or he's a sort of a larger military guy with a lot of guns and a lot of firepower. I knew I wanted to do something very heavy and sort of forceful, I guess, with him. And so we wanted to put a cannon on his back. And so this is the cannon I ended up using. And so to make it connect and also to make it articulated, I used this is an arm from a Halo figure, actually. So I drilled a thin hole into the gun and widened it out so that the arm could peg into it. And it can actually be removable too, so I can show you that just to show you how everything works. So it just pops out there, it just snaps out. And so we have the peg, and I realize my camera's not very focused. I don't know if that's more helpful or not. Yeah, it looks a little bit more helpful. So we can see the arm here. This side plugs into the back, this side plugs into the gun. So I'll just plug it back into the gun. And so I had to do a couple things. I also had to tighten the joints in this thing because this gun's really heavy, and having all the weight on these two joints is really heavy. So I actually ran super glue through it and let the super glue just add a little bit more thickness into the joints. And so now there's a lot more tension in there. So as you can see, the gun holds no matter where you place it. Before, the gun was sort of just sliding everywhere, and it really wasn't good because this joint here was going to slide everywhere, and I'll show you. I mean, as you guys can see, it doesn't move. It's a really, really solid piece, and so that super glue really helped the articulation to move around, but still stay very, very strong. So in terms of paint application, since we're here, obviously I painted these red. There's a lot of weathering on them too. They've been dry brushed in gunmetal and silver. Let me get in a little bit closer here. Dry brushed in gunmetal and silver just to really bring the tone down and make it look really, really worn. This guy, I almost envisioned him as a wanderer, and I wrote up a little bio for him actually. I envisioned him as an old soldier who had seen the horrors of war and kind of wants to get away from like the modern world, or the world they live in is a very like semi-distant, is a sort of a semi-distant future, and he wants to get away from all the complicated parts of life. So, but because he was a soldier and stuff, his past is sort of catching up to him, and so there's people hunting him down that force him to fight, but he wants to live alone. But in sort of that vein, he scavenged a lot of his gear, or his gear is really old, and so I added weathering to this. It's a little bit hard to see, but there are, let me see if I can, let's see if the camera will pick it up. Yeah, there we go. You can see some tinting in there. There's some bronze paint in there. There's a lot of gunmetal and silver washes. I did this whole, after I did some silver and stuff, I did this whole thing in a black wash. And that's how I was able to get that really beat up silver. You know, it's still clearly silver, but it's worn down, and and that's due to the black wash, which was really cool. So yeah, we got that. I was able to practice a lot of painting metal with this guy too. I think I got a lot better just learning how to make metal look like it's rusted and stuff. So now we come to this Gatling gun, and this is a really cool feature. I'm not going to tell you how it works now, but I'll show it when I'm showing off the figure. But just really good paintwork too. This is a NECA minigun, and I cut off all the whole like carrying of the gun bit. Then I also cut down these the rotating barrels. So these two pieces right here, I sanded them down and just glued them together after I cut all the barrels off in the middle, so to significantly reduce the length of it. I think it turned out pretty good. Put a little gold band here for design purposes that we'll see in a little bit. And this has been done in silver, bronze, gunmetal, also with the black wash too, just to add some depth and to add some wear to the look of the gun. So I'm really happy with that. In terms of just, continuing the idea of he's just a big dude, I also gave him this grenade launcher. There's nothing really special about this. It's just black, dry brushed in silver, but I think it fits the tone really well. I mean, he has so many other big explosive guns. Why not add another one? Slap another one on there. And then he also has this gun. This gun is from Titanfall, a Titanfall figure. Paint-wise, I loved all the decals and stuff so much that I didn't want to make many changes to it. I did, however, see if I can get the camera to focus on. There we go, you can see it. It's a triple barrel pistol, and so I put gloss in the triple barrels, and also in this little, you can see like how it sort of triangles out there. There's gloss inside those gaps. There we go, now the light's picking it up. So you can see it there. There's gloss in there just to add some depth to the gun. I also did gloss black inside those little vents on either side. And this pegs into his belt. And we'll show that off in a little bit too. So now moving on to his melee weapons. Me and the customer have endearingly named this the Power Bat. It's a club. This is from an articulated Icons figure, and it's been repainted. So I added weathering to the handle. So it's normally tan. I just dry brushed it. I did this whole thing in a black wash, but then I also dry brushed it with black gray just to add some extra dirt and wear to the handle wrap. And then this was a chrome silver before. After the wash, it turned a lot darker. And I like that. It's not like gunmetal doesn't really have like reflectiveness to it. In a way, it's shiny and it's sparkly, but it doesn't reflect light as well. So having the chrome silver and then having it black washed, it sort of keeps that reflective nature. It keeps the brightness, but it's been toned down, obviously, because there's black mixed in with it, which actually turned out really well. And then all these little bulbs, before they were just silver too, and I thought that looked too plain for this guy, so I painted them in red. And so we were talking about them. It's it's some sort of like electric club that he swings around. I think it turned out pretty cool. I think it looks dope. He has his two katanas. The sheets have been painted up in gloss black gunmetal and then with a little bit of red. Nothing special happened to the swords. They're standard swords. And I wanted to keep them that way because we're basing his look off of Samurai. I wanted to, still keep some classic elements in the design. And so I figure, what's better for a guy who's sort of trying to run away from modern society to instead use a very classic weapon and still a very elegant. And, they're good swords. They're very good, strong swords. So I figured, they're going to stay unchanged. I'm not going to, turn them into like laser energy. I'm not going to make it look like they have some laser edge or something. Just classic katanas. That's what I wanted to give him. So we got that. Moving away from classicness though, he's got his dagger and got some red in there, sort of like, the same energy that's probably powering his Power Bat. He's also got it in this knife, which, as I was making him, I imagine just makes the knife stronger. Probably can burn through armor or something. You know, it probably, this knife heats up in a way so that it can cut through stronger materials. That's pretty cool. And then lastly but not least in terms of weapons, he has this little, oops, dropped it, jeez. He's got this little line of grenades. I repainted them, gloss black, some army green, some gunmetals in there, and there's 2 magnets because they magnet onto the belt, and they're actually interchangeable with the katana, so I'll show that off in a little bit. Now moving on to the hands. I have his fisted hands on him right now, but you'll get the gist of how the hands are painted by looking at these. So since it was Cable, if you guys are familiar with the Cable figure, he has a bunch of blue and brown and stuff, and I wanted to go away from all of that. You know, obviously I still had to use the same hands, but I didn't want them to feel the same, so I actually got fully repainted. So he's got matte black with gloss black bands on it. You can see it there. I think the lights can't. There we go. That's better focused. He's got matte black for the fingers, and then he's got sort of like these gloss black bands on him. And then the main armor piece here is done in gunmetal, and his little knuckles have been dry brushed in silver, so you get a little bit of silver coming through. He's got chrome silver, very bright silver on his fingertips there. Yeah, so that's the way all these hands are. Oh, and then obviously some leather brown on the padding, as you can see there. So that's the way all his right hands are painted. So it's all the same thing, so I'm not going to show them off, every single one. But now we're going to move on to his other hand, his robotic arm. His arm has this silver and gold motif running through all of it, and I'll explain more why we chose to do that in a little bit. But just to keep that idea running through the whole hand, sort of like the bones of the hand are painted in gold, and then his fingertips are also painted in gold too, and it's a really cool paint scheme, I think, and brings some really cool contrast and pop to the hands compared to if they were all silver. So that's how all those hands are. So now moving on to the far right section here, we have his cloak. This is just a cloak I cut and made myself. Let me focus the camera. There we go. It's just a cloak I cut and made myself. I think I painted everything oh, there we go. So it was more of this light tan color earlier, and once I cut it out to size and everything, I sprayed it with brown and then also with green, and that gives it just a very worn, almost semi-camo type look, and you know, it looks like it's been beat up, it's been through some fights and such, and that was really the goal of it, just to have, you know, this Wanderer's beat up cloak. Coming out to the heads now, the first one we'll look at is his Japanese mask. It's almost like a drama mask, but it came from a samurai faceplate from the Articulated Icons figures. I actually put it on an Ascending Knight Bruce Wayne head, remolded the neck peg on it, as you can see there, cut the cheeks of the face down so that it would fit the face mask, and then I sculpted the circle sun in the middle, and then painted the rest of it, painted that gloss red in there. And then just to hold the mask in place, he's got these black-gray bands that run around the head. And then just to make it a little bit more cyberpunky, he has these 2 little implants there, some kind of neural implants. I don't know for what. But the idea of this mask was just to give him a little bit of a haunting feeling. You know, those empty eyes, the empty mouth. It's just something to intimidate his enemies. So he has that helmet. He has that little mask right there. The next one we have is his, I'm dubbing it his Cyber Assassin mask. Or not Cyber Assassin mask, Cyber Assassin head. So this is, the other 2 heads are from the Cable figure. So I completely shaved the Cable head down. I sculpted this really, I keep on saying I did it. I mean, I did, but I'm not trying to brag on it. But I'm really happy with that shaved head texture. It's just a super thin layer of sculpt, and then I have a needle, and I dappled all those little dots into it. And so that just makes his hair look like it's just sort of growing in. And so I cut off the jaw right under the lip, cut it right across, and then this is from the Marvel Legends Taskmaster figure, the sort of like the Marvel Now version of it. And so I took the lower jaw from that, glued it on, and then sculpted this armor plating over it, and then painted it all. So we've got gunmetal and silver in there. And then for his eyes, I actually decided, to paint them gold. His scars are in silver, but I decided to paint his eyes gold because obviously it looks really from afar it looks really scary. It almost looks like he's blind, but he definitely has pupils in there. But just to have him gold is something different. Have some, it's almost like an unearthly shine to it. And then I also added these sort of line details. Obviously a lot of parts have been replaced on his head, so I added that line detailing in there as well. And then I am really happy of his hair down the side. It's a very different hairstyle, and I wanted him to feel unique in that way. And I think I got the fade between the hair. I think the hair looks like it's really growing out of his head. So that was just a lot of sculpting and using a needle just to sort of fade in the hair into the side of the shaved head. And just in case anyone's wondering, I actually sculpted this long hair before I sculpted the shaved head parts on the top. The shaved head on the side was already done, but the shaved head on the top, I sculpted it after, and that allowed the fade to look a little bit more natural. And then obviously it's painted. I did this his hair is painted actually in a black gray, and then I highlighted it with an even lighter gray. And so I wanted him to just look a little bit aged. His hair is just not straight black, just something a little bit lighter than that. So there we go for that head. I really like this one. I think it's pretty cool looking. Reminds me a little bit of Raiden from Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Anyways, now moving on to his last but not least head, and this head actually has some pretty cool conversions that come with it. This is what I've dubbed his monk head. He looks very, very human with it. He has no crazy cybernetic parts enhanced in. He's left his face, his head alone. We got those really nice angry eyes in there. And I really got to say, for anyone looking to paint a cable head, it's really hard making this eye and the other eye look symmetrical because this eye is supposed to light up. So it's actually a separate piece and it indents differently. So sort of working on the shading of that is a little bit hard, but it worked out. I fixed the Mezco's constant sin of how they make angry faces. The cable head before didn't really have a very clear side of the gum line type thing. It just looked like it was teeth all the way across. It just looked like it was teeth and skin. So it didn't look like he was grimacing. It just looked more like he was just showing his front teeth, like he was biting his lip. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but I added a lower line of teeth right there. And this is just paint detailing, but I added sort of just a little lower line of teeth. You can see that space in between his upper and lower teeth there. And that helps him look like he's gritting his teeth, just that little extra white in that divot. And then obviously there's reds in the sides, so we can actually see the gums in the inside of the mouth instead of just like a full open face of teeth. I don't know why they paint it like that, I'll be honest. I don't know why they sculpt it like that. It makes no sense to me. But it's okay, we fixed it up. We shaved the head again like last time, but this time we made it look much more like it was just faded in. His hair's a lot shorter than the other head, obviously. And then we sculpted a beard. The beard has the same paint as before, black gray with some lighter gray in it, and so does his ponytail. This ponytail comes from the Netflix Elektra figure, and it's actually on this little interchangeable bit. Whoa, look at that. Yeah, I know some of the paint's chipping, but it's okay. It plugs into his head. You can't see it anyways. But but you can pull out the ponytail, and the reason why is, first of all, he has this awesome metal straw hat. This was a cool idea from the customer, actually. He's like, I want him to have some... I mean, I concepted a straw hat, but, he definitely took some extra steps in the design and led me, really, in how to design it a little bit better. So we've got this metal straw hat now. And I actually made this out of paper, which is I cut a circle of paper and then cut a little divot in it so that I could... if that makes sense, you cut a divot, like just a little slice off of it, and then you fold it over itself so that it creates that little cone. And after that, I cut a bunch of thin strips of paper, and I had to glue them down to get that look. And then it got sprayed silver. So we have his little chin strap, and so you just tuck the chin under and just tilt the head up. And it sits up there nicely. It's a little bit hard with my fingers in the way. It'll look a lot better in photos. And I'll show it on the figure in the review itself later. But he's got that hat. And then the other thing for this head, actually, is he's got this samurai helmet. And there's a peg inside the samurai helmet. And that actually lines up with the peg in his head. And so you can just, there we go. You can just peg it in just like so, and he wears his samurai helmet. And then also we have this skull mask, which is gold. Let me get the camera to focus. Which is gold with silver teeth, which I think looks really, really cool. You know, once again, going with that gold and silver that we saw in the hands and we'll see on the figure. But for this face mask, what I actually had to do is, since it's 4 articulated icons originally, it was much thinner than it was. So I cut off some bits on the sides and then also used a heat gun and expanded it to the size of the face. And I actually expanded it even farther than the size of the face so that there's no paint rub. If you have something the exact same size, when you slide it on, there's going to be a lot of tension and a lot of grip from the faceplate, and that's going to cause the paint to scratch. So I actually molded it just slightly bigger. So the only part that really grabs is just right around the beard-ish area. It just holds like right on those corners, and it works perfectly. It sits nicely, it looks good, and because there's not big grab on it, it doesn't scratch paint at all. It just holds on by like a nice bit of tension, which is really, really cool. So there we go. I'm going to take all this off. So those are his accessories. He has a lot of them. That was a lot of time. That was 20 minutes to go through accessories. So let's see if we can get through this figure. This guy, first of all, is huge, and we made a lot of changes to him. Where to start? Okay, we're going to start with the parts I replaced. I cut off his belt. I cut off his little ab area. This is the Deathstroke abs. And then this armor is from the Articulated Icons figure. This armor is from the Articulated Icons figure, and it wraps all the way around. This is actually on elastic, as you can see there, and that allows him to kick forward a little bit more, as you can see there, and it allows the belt to stretch and flex with it. So he gets a much higher range of articulation that way. He's able to move a lot more while not compromising the look of the armor or giving any paint rub anywhere, because the band allows it to move, which is pretty cool. Little innovation tip right there. And then the plate on his arm is connected to elastic inside this shoulder plate as well as around the arm, and that allows the plate to move with the arm, but still return to its original position on the side of his arm there, as you can see. So that just helps hold everything in place. So I think that turned out pretty well too. So now breaking down the design. Hold on. I'm going to put this head on because I like how it looks. I like how all the heads look, but this one looks particularly intimidating on him. So we're going to wear that one. So actually that's a little bit distracting. Sorry. We're going to put his monk head on. That looks a lot less distracting. Okay, cool. So in terms of his design, like if you saw my Cyber Ninja, he had a little Japanese kanji on his belt that read as death. For him, I want to go with the same idea of using Japanese kanji, but in this case, this is the kanji or the character of strength. So where the X-Men symbol used to be, he now has the symbol of strength sculpted into his chest piece, and there's a little gold band around it. And that's sort of what inspired the rest of the gold in the design. So he's got his metal arm here, but his plating is now done. The plating on the arm, which is all original sculpt, that's done in gold. And then likewise, he has the gold on his hands as well. Sort of the whole idea is, this is strength. And strength, his mechanical arm is stronger, and so therefore it's plated in gold to tie to that symbol. And then likewise, his faceplate and his horns are gold as well. All of which I think are really cool. All just sort of tie into that idea of we're highlighting we're highlighting in a way where he is strong, maybe. So that's, once again, some little design things. You can use colors to connotate certain things. And then the rest of his armor, if you're familiar with Cable, it's blue. All of this was just straight blue, and it looked, I'll be honest, I don't like it. I didn't like that shade of blue, and it was sad that Mezco didn't do more with the paint. So all of this was blue. I sprayed it all black, painted it all a matte black. And then originally I was going for there's this one Japanese armor I found, samurai armor, and it was this emerald or this jade green. And so I just wanted to do a black with the jade green fade. And as soon as I did that jade green fade, I saw it and I was like, what if we do metal? What if we make it look like a metal burn? When metal is exposed to extreme heat, it gets this sort of rainbow effect. And so that's what I chose to do here. And if I can get the camera to focus, he's got greens and purples that run through his armor, you know, and they give it these, you know, there's sort of, and in that mix, there's also some sorts of hues of metallic blue as it sort of rotates with the light in. And so, you know, you can see the purple there, you know, the green and the purple, and the green and purple run through all of his armor. And I think it looks really good. As the light rotates, you get, you know, these sort of different hues with it. And so I wanted to just give him a really, really creative set of armor, something that stands out and something that looks really cool. So, you know, he's got that really cool reflective metallic paint all throughout. And then on top of that, obviously I added some silver bolts for detailing, but there's also, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's some silver wear. Oh, there we go. When I cover it a little bit, you can see it. There's silver wear here and along the edge. I'll cover it so you can see it a little bit better. You can see just that silver line along it, and all his armor has that silver detailing. There we go. You can see it right there. He's got that silver along the edge of the armor. So he's definitely been in some fights and such. And so that's sort of the paint motif going through all of it. Keeping with that rusted idea that I was talking about earlier with the guns and stuff, he also has bronze paint on his boots. You know, maybe it was silver before, but it sort of started rusting out. And so he's got some bronze paint on his boots. And I think I didn't incorporate bronze paint on actually the main set of his armor because I wanted it to go with like this worn metal burn type look. But having the bronze on the boots helps sort of tie some other parts of the design together in terms of the wear and tear on him. So I think that looks really good too. And so, you know, just finding a consistent color palette is really good. In terms of what I did with actually his undersuit, you might have seen it. There's some bright blue that tends to peek out there and, you know, sometimes along the arms. And that's because I imagined his suit was originally blue, or his undersuit was originally blue. And I actually dry brushed it with brown and black just to dirty it up a bit. So there's still, so I mean, even when he like, you know, when he moves and stuff, you can see the blue. It's still definitely blue, but there's, you know, it's very, very dirty. It's very, very muddy. He hasn't cleaned his clothes. You know, he's been wandering, he's dirty, all that kind of stuff. So there we go with that. So that's the main, so that was the main design of the body. And I really like how it turned out. I feel like it definitely exudes strength. And he looks very intimidating with this armor on, and I think it's a good conversion from what Cable used to be to what this is now. Oh, and obviously, along with the painting on the glove, the painting on this arm matches it. So we got gloss black, we have brown, we have matte black in there. So there we go, we have that. Nothing too much to stand out on. Obviously, I hit things with different paint. This used to be sort of more, this used to be a darker silver. I hit it with some brighter silver, and obviously these cross beams and stuff all got hit with a brighter silver. And so there's just, and so, you know, definitely paint can transform a figure. And so it went from a Cable figure to, I think, looking completely different, totally different from what he used to be. So now we're going to gear him up two ways. I'm going to gear him up sort of as his gunner form, and then also as his samurai, so you can see both. I'm not going to change the heads, I'm just going to show you where everything plugs in. So in terms of being a gunner, there's magnets on the underside of the belt, and so you can take these grenades, and if I can find the magnets, gotta find them and line them up. There we, hold up, where are they? I actually haven't done this since I put the whole belt together, so I gotta, there they are, there's the magnets. So his grenades sit right there, we've got that. And then obviously there's a, sorry I didn't catch those, but there's a peg right there for where his katanas are supposed to go. So we're going to put those grenades back there. I drilled in a peg hole for a peg right there, and that peg is for his pistol. So he actually gets pistol storage on his body too, which is really, really cool. I'm trying to like do this through the camera viewfinder. I'm just going to move him up and just match it in myself, and then we'll come back to something focused. There we go. So he can hold his pistol there. The gold band on the machine gun, or on the minigun, you know, talking once again about keeping paint consistency. This is an interchangeable piece for his left hand. I drilled in and hollowed this out, and then I put sculpting putty in there and molded it to the wrist peg. So now we'll interchange that. So all we do is we come to the hand, we grab it, we pop it off. Oh, also I added this brace to the arm, obviously. But anyways, and then we just take it and you just plug it in like so. It's got a really good grip on it too. And now he has an interchangeable minigun arm, which I think looks really, really cool. So he's got that too. I was actually inspired a little bit by Barrett from Deus Ex Revolution? I don't think it's Deus Ex Revolution. No, I think it is, because then it's Mankind of... I don't remember which game it was, but there's a character named Barrett, and he has a machine gun hand, and I was sort of inspired by that. I took some inspirational cues from his design. Obviously, this is a little bit more rugged and looks a little bit more dirty than Barrett's from that game, but yeah, so wanted to, you know, just give him some extra punch and extra oomph with this arm. You know, we're talking about strength and stuff, so what's stronger than slapping a minigun on your arm? And then in terms of other stuff, we're also going to plug in his cannon. So what I did here was, this is where a battery plate is, if you guys are familiar with the cable figure. So I actually pulled out all the internals of the battery compartment and then filled it with sculpting putty so that it would be solid. I wouldn't be dealing with hollow plastic in there. And then I sealed this this vent down here. This vent actually normally slides up to reveal the battery compartment and the on and off switch for the lights. Sealed it with super glue and then took a drill, drilled it in. And so now that makes room and his arm just pegs in there. So now he can be standing here. I gotta move him back a little bit, make sure he's all balanced out. And now he can have his giant shoulder cannon. And I think this looks really cool. You put him like this, you know, pose him up with his guns and everything. And obviously in the other hand, he can also hold his grenade launcher. So he can be fully kitted out with guns, which is really, really fun. Normally with this body, I like to use his cyber assassin head too. He looks, with those eyes, he looks a lot more ruthless like this. So that's that look. And I really, really like this. I think this looks really, really awesome. Oh, and then I remember I was talking about how strong the arms are and stuff. You can do weapon storage. You can just sort of flip this back and have it contained on the side of his body, just like so. And so it can hide back there. Or another way I was converting it was actually flipping the cannon upside down like that. So it just looks like it sort of slid down his body. And then obviously you have to rotate it to lift it back up over the shoulder. But this is, you know, it's almost like War Machine, how War Machine's gun just sort of slides back on the shoulder and then slides forward. You can get sort of that look too, whichever way. So that's his storage, and that's how the arm works. So we're just going to pop that off. And now we're going to roll into his samurai form. But so now he puts his little hat on, and there we go. We have him in his sort of like his wandering samurai form. And I think it's cool that he has a metal straw hat. It sort of modernizes the straw hat for him a little bit. So we get that look for him there. And then we can pull off his hat, and he can go, you know, he can go full futuristic samurai. And we can take his samurai helmet and peg that on like so. The only issue is this back, sort of like these back tier. Also, yeah, that's painted too, which looks awesome. But that plating down there sort of runs into the collar. It doesn't create paint rub, but it just restricts his movement a little bit more. So that's unfortunate, but that's the price to pay for cool accessories, I guess. So he's got that helmet on there, and then if that doesn't look cool enough, I can also take his little skull mask and fit it right on top there. And so now he's ready to go. And I think that looks really intimidating. That looks really, really cool. So we got that. We got him all suited up, which is awesome and super, super fun. So that is, this really concludes the review. We've looked at everything he has. Real quick, this also comes with the Articulated Icons samurai figure. If my camera will focus, there we go. It's got a little skull and it's got his little horns. I mean, you can replace it on the helmet, and it'll refocus. You can place it on the helmet there. And so I'm going to send it to the customer also, but in terms of, accessories and such, this is a lot more classic samurai. So, the other ones are a little bit more fantastical. But yeah, actually, I'm going to pop this head off. I'm going to put, so that you guys can see it, I'm going to put the third head on too. Paste that on top. There we go. So now you've seen him with all three of his masks. And that's really fun. I like all of them. I think they look great. But this concludes the review. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know it's a little bit of a longer one probably. And yeah. What do I normally say? I totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Instagram. Yes. I put my Instagram username in the description of all my videos. It's Tosh_customs. If for any reason you guys can't find me, I'll also provide a link in the About page of my YouTube channel. Also about the YouTube channel, I don't look at it too much. I don't update it very often. So if you want to get more constant updates about the things I'm working with and, things I'm doing, giveaways when commissions open, all that kind of stuff, I post it on my Instagram page. So you guys want to be there to see everything I do. So yeah, there's a link in the About section. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. I'm sorry I lost my train of thought at the end. I totally blanked out on what I normally say. But please like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate your support in whatever form it comes in. And with that, I hope everyone stays safe, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care.